What's going on, people? It's Ricky from Volnay Capital. We are here for another Volnay Live. Really excited to have Gene from Catalyst. Amazing builder. I've actually seen a few of his projects out in the suburbs. Definitely going to give us some different insight into developing not in the city. A lot of the stuff we talk about is obviously city development. So we're going to give a little time. We'll let him join in. We'll let some more people join in here, and then we'll get started. We're just going to have a casual conversation and answer any questions that you guys have. So make sure you send over the questions. Nick Brown, what's good, bud? Thanks for coming in. Have a little vino. Let's get Gene joined here. One sec. What's up? Whoa, there he is.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me on, Ricky.
Oh, thanks for joining, man. Excited to hear your story and give the people some insight into kind of a different area of of development. I feel like we talk to a lot of us who are now in the city projects, triple deckers, development, and you're kind of the other side of it with the single family home development. So I'm excited to hear your story. And so. We got a few people on here, so everybody feel free to send in your questions, as we're going. But let's get started. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got started and where the business, where it was, built out of, and then what you guys are up to today.
Okay, so well, we had a very interesting start here. I was never really planning to be in construction. I was in corporate. I graduated college in 2000 and had a pretty great first job, and then got laid off after 2001. No job for about a year. So that was the first bell kind of ringing that, okay, this whole dependency on someone else is dangerous to a degree. So and then I had a corporate career which was pretty good. Switched companies, worked for technology and companies and startups, and then around 2004 my wife and I decided to buy a house. We lived in a condo in West Roxbury, and then we decided to buy a condo. We decided to buy a house. We bought a house in Needham. It was an old house, and it was just the beginning of the whole tear down craze. So we bought a house. It was a ranch. My wife was pregnant. We decided to hire a builder to build a new house for us. So we at that time 2 or 3 of our friends were already rebuilding houses in Newton and in Needham and maybe in Lexington too, by the same builder. So naturally, we hired that builder to do the job because clearly vetted guy, we can trust him. To make a long story short, he never finished the project and took more than $100,000 from us and ran. So I went to the building department and I said, okay, guys, I'm going to have to take over the permit. I really would love to finish the project, and I cannot afford to hire another builder. And when I had to go to the bank as well and say that, yeah, I'm sorry, but if you guys want to see this project completed, please allow me to take over as a builder. I don't know anything about it, but I cannot afford to hire someone else because that pork is gone. There is no money to pay the overhead for the builder. So they let me do it, and it took me a year and a half to finish the project. And it was a bad start, but I learned along the way, but I kept making a ton of mistakes. I was just spending money where I shouldn't have spent the money. I mean, tiling walls to the ceiling, things like that. Just spending money on $600 toilets when, $200 toilet would have been fine. So to make a long story short, this was my construction university, because by the time I finished my house, plus the money that the guy stole from us, I felt like that's a pretty good construction MBA payment.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the mistake of that first contractor and how things you learned there. So Say someone who's following on this is wants to hire their first GC or first builder. What are the red flags that they should look at, and what are the steps they should take to make sure that they're hiring the right person?
Yeah, I think that that's a very good question. And I never actually thought about this. What is it that I would recommend to someone else? But I think that now I'm going to try to formulate it. So obviously nowadays, you have the Instagram presence. So whatever it is, social media, I think that people can get to know the contractor and the builder, especially by watching stories. I feel like you can understand the personality of a person, their authenticity, and also you can probably figure out the working style of that person as well. You can probably literally see whether you're a good match with them or not. I think also what is important to me, and this is where I don't understand how some builders function, is there are some builders that never show up on site. I find, and I always complain to my team about this and to my wife, is that I'm constantly on site. I don't know how to remove myself. Like, when is it gonna be? When am I gonna reach the moment when I can wear a nice jacket or a suit? I feel like it's impossible. So I think, to me, I think a builder that is on site, that is present, that is honest, that has clear communication, that tries to understand their client, kind of like foresee, put himself or herself into their shoes.
Yeah. No, I think Instagram's a great way to, it's along with references, right? So say someone gives you a list of references. I think Instagram's another, almost a fourth reference. You get three references, and you get your fourth is Instagram. You're looking and saying, well, are they taking pride in both what they're building and how their client relationships are? Because if they're willing to put themselves out there to the world and allow people to comment and be involved in that case, then everyone can know if they're not delivering on their word. I think that's a great option.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think also one other thing that I will add, it's yeah, I think talking about the shortfalls and mistakes, right? It's I remember back in corporate when they were asking you a question, what are your weaknesses, right? And it was always like thought of, oh, what a cheesy question. No one is ever gonna say that it's their weakness. They're gonna turn it into positive, right? So and so I think that it's relevant to construction, right? Where you say like, well, the question is, when tell me a situation when you failed, like when something went wrong, how do you handle this, right?
yeah.
And I know plenty of people that'll be like, well, it is what it is, not my problem. And then there are people that are going to be like, I handle it. I'm attacking that person, that problem right in the face. That's how
Yes.
I handle it. So
So
that's
yes.
important.
So that first project. Now talk me through the decision that this is going to become a career. So you finished your own house. You weren't sick of it. You wanted to jump into another.
No, not at that point. So that was 2006. I mean, I already thought that, okay, this is not bad. And since I've always been more of an entrepreneur, I always felt that I don't really belong in the office. It's not something where I'm going to succeed long term. I've always been thinking about what is it that I can do that's going to be my business, something that I'm passionate about. And I feel so. I was in technology. The problem with technology was that I was in high tech. By the time you build an app or a certain product, network, whatever it was, most of the time, by the time you build it, it's either obsolete or you cannot actually gather information to learn whether it's useful for people or not. So essentially, you're creating, at least the environment where I was in, you're creating a product where you have no satisfaction as a creator knowing that someone is using it, right? So
Yes.
there was always this moment of not being fulfilled. So when I was looking at construction, I kept imagining that if I'm building a quality house, there is nothing better than seeing a smile on the face of my clients, right? And them being happy and growing their family and having children there. That's the best feeling in the world. So that's why I thought, all right, I think I can do it in construction. I really enjoy building new houses. So I decided that the next time the opportunity is going to present itself, if I see a tear down somewhere nearby, I will try to buy it, and I will try to build my first house. I wanted to try it as career transition, but I also wanted to try to make up some of the money that was lost in the Gene's construction MBA.
Yeah.
The money that the guy stole from me.
Yeah.
I have to make it up.
So now when you're looking for projects, so what makes a good project for you, and what are the things you're looking for in the current space to find a good teardown? Is it all teardowns now? All teardowns ground up?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I do only tear downs, no remodeling, no flips, only tear downs.
Yeah. So we had a couple questions come in on the Instagram. So just brought a couple things. So what, from a construction standpoint, what price per foot are you building at now out in the suburbs?
That is, it is hard to answer because it's a range. It really depends on the type of product that we're pushing out. I think that I want to think of our company as our niches were semi-custom to custom, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a pure spec. And Ricky, you've been to one of my houses.
Yes.
You see that it is not a specky looking home, right?
No, not at all. Yeah.
So I think that I don't want to mislead people. There is a way to build where it's specky, and then there is a way where it's more semi-custom, right? And I'm not even touching the custom because that's where client is involved. So on the semi-custom side, I think you're looking at 150 minimum, 150 square foot, maybe 150 to 175 range.
Okay. Like that. Yeah, no, that's a good range. I mean, so compared to like we're building now, we're at 225 to 250 for this in the city. So that's, it gives you a more of an idea of how you could do a project in the suburbs. So let's talk about that semi-custom. So house I went and saw of yours, absolutely stunning. I walked in and it was incredible. Talk to me about those decisions and where you spend and where you save to give it that luxury feel without blowing your budget. So what is, where in the project are you spending, and where have you learned over the years to pull back?
So, well, if you ask my wife, she will probably say that I'm not saving anywhere. Because I don't like to do things half-ass, and I'm constantly worried about how the picture ties together. I want this integrated look, but clearly sometimes you have to put that romance aside a little bit and really focus on getting the numbers right and making sure that the formula works. So I think that, so I'll give you a quick example. I love the look of bluestone, right? In the back, to do a bluestone patio, that's one of my favorite things to do. But it costs too much. So we'll go with a paver that looks like a bluestone. Clearly, it's not a bluestone, but that saves us probably, I would say, 30% on the cost of the patio, right? Yeah. I may save on some things that are framing material related. I try to work with my lumber yard to see if we can value engineer certain things. Mm-hmm. If there are headers that are spec'd on each window, I ask them to recalculate if we can go from LVL to conventional lumber, things like that. Yeah. I think that, we also try to save a little bit on what I call them, secondary bathrooms or kids' bathrooms, right? Yeah. Maybe not necessarily, you don't need to go all out on the quartz. I will go out to our counter fabricator, and I apologize. I thought I said for no interruption. My phone on no interruption, but I got a call. So I'll go shop remnants for like kids' bathrooms, things like that. So these are just a couple of examples.
Yeah. One thing in that house that was like amazing that you did was the lofted ceiling in the dining room. Mm-hmm. And I think it actually has inspired me on some projects coming up to start thinking about not going flat roof and maybe doing lofted areas. And you know, in like, so what this was, so you guys can describe it. When you walked into the kitchen, off the kitchen, there was a dining area, a dining room, and the ceiling went up, what, how high? An extra.
I would say it's probably about another, so it's a 9 foot ceiling. It's probably another 6 feet. Yeah, probably I would say 5 to 6 feet.
So you walked into the dining room, you looked up, and he had lofted the ceiling up another 6 feet off of the kitchen. And it really made it feel like, even though it was almost one room, made it feel like its own space. So, you know, we have some projects now where I'm looking at, can we angle the roofs in maybe certain areas and create that additional space with a lofted ceiling. So that was a really cool feature.
Right.
Another question I had, so let's talk about the siding on that house, right? So we, you know, most of my projects, we go with the standard hardy siding, and we go with the colors that are just readily available. On that, I think you went with a hardy and painted it, right?
Yes.
So talk me through that decision. How does that process work? Is it easy? How does the pricing differ? And why do you go with a hardy and then paint it and not go with a hardy that's already colored?
So, good question. So I started building that way, and it never actually changed. And I think that it's because I never found colors in the James Hardy palette that I like personally.
Well, their white isn't the right white.
Exactly, right?
It's like off a little bit. Your house pops. It's like this perfect white.
Right.
Hardy's is like this little tinge of yellowish tan.
Right.
Which,
Well, that's the problem. So, you know what? There's so many times that I try to calculate this formula, right? Because people say, "Oh, why aren't you buying pre-finished siding?" Because when you put this on, you save money on exterior paint, but I'm not getting the look that I want. Plus, it has a sheen; it shines a little bit, and I don't like that either. I like a flatter look of paint. So I think it's just because the colors that I like, the 3, 4 colors that we typically use on our houses, James Hardy doesn't have anything that is close enough to it. And that's why I buy prime and we just paint it on site.
yeah, nice. So we've got a question that came in kind of about the ratio of yard to building. So when you're doing these houses that are teardowns, are you going through the process of getting special permits for these, or are you building what you can build on that as of right?
So I'm gonna invite a lot of competition into Needham. We're one of the few towns left here that doesn't really have that strict of a code, right? So we have Wellesley next door, where they just squeezing that square footage every couple of years. And we have Newton next door, which is also doing the same thing. I think that in Needham, right now, our rules are better, right? So we do have the FAR, the ratio, but it's generous enough where I can take a 10,000 square foot lot and I can finish all 4 levels on it, right? And get a 6,000 square foot house. To give you a comparison, I was looking at a lot in Wellesley, and you could get a 3,600 square foot home on it, maximum. They make sure that you use trusses in the attic, so you can never finish it. You lose the basement, or you lose part of the second floor where you have to make a huge indent. It's really a huge limitation, but we don't have that in Needham yet.
Nice. So let's talk about what's going on right now with the virus and your business. Are you guys still working? Is construction still moving? Actually, and before you answer, so everybody who's on here, we got a ton of people. Please send me questions. Keep sending them over. We'll try to get to a bunch of these questions. So keep sending them, and we'll get back to them at the end. But let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about how that's affecting the business. Are you able to still work? And what are you seeing for the next month, 3 months, 6 months, year? How are you planning for that?
Okay, so yes, we're working because Needham is not shut down. I know the Newton next door is shut down. Needham is not shut down, so we're working. Once we received information from the state about the guidelines for each project site, we started to implement that right away. I mean, practically next day we had flyers on all of our construction sites. We had the Lysol cleaning supplies everywhere. I have a log on every job site. We have a log that is attached to our sliding door or back door, where one of my site managers goes around and he fills it in every day, twice a day. He wipes all the handles and all the commonly touched things. We even bother guys, and we don't let them congregate during lunch. We tell them to sit 6 feet apart or more. And at this point, people are definitely buying into it, because this way we are able to continue. We keep the number of people on the job site at no more than 10 people, which is according to the guidelines. Myself and the manager on site, we're floaters. We kind of go around. We don't stay on one site. I think the most time-consuming task, my office manager, Debbie, she literally calls our trade every day, and she puts together a schedule who's going to be on site the next day to make sure that we're under that number of 10 or at 10 and no more than that.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we're doing in terms of precaution. Obviously, we have gels and cleaning supplies, things like that, masks, gloves. As far as the effect on the business, so far from all of the projects that we have, we had one guy, the plumber, who is over 60, and his partner is over 60, and their only worker, who is also over 60, they called out, and they said that they would like to take a couple of weeks off. That was about 2 weeks ago, and they're back today, the first day. And I was telling the guy that I'm completely fine with you taking time off. I totally respect it. It's custom projects that are impacted. I'm not happy about this, because clients will still ask me to deliver on time, right? But I asked him to think about how he's going to make up the time lost. Mm-hmm. And I said, maybe you should come out on Sundays and work when the place is completely, empty. There's no one else around. And you guys, 2 of you, 3 of you, can just do the job and at least try to keep up with the schedule.
Yeah. Nice. So from the standpoint of future projects, right? Do you think that when you're designing homes or working with your architects, are you going to change anything because of COVID? Do you think buyers are going to look for home gyms? Do you think you're going to see people, wanting more offices, anything like that? I know that's a question people keep asking. Is this going to change people's desires when looking for a home?
It's interesting. So I don't think. Okay, I'm gonna answer this question very honestly, because of the impact that I'm seeing right now. Immediately, right? What I see people ask is for improvements to their HVAC system. Putting things like humidification, dehumidification, and the ultraviolet light to kill the mold and bacteria. Especially this ultraviolet light to kill the mold and bacteria, right? That's directly related to breathing and quality of air in the house, right? I do not see that much of an impact for me as far as the office and the gym, because those are the things on the wish list that we've been hitting for a while anyway, right? Yeah. Basically, what I do is when we design something, no matter what it is, indoor space or an outdoor space, I actually try to think forward what people are going to use this space for, right? We actually design it, and then if it's not part of the program, I mute it on the plan, right? And this way, when I talk to clients, I say, okay, this room is, right now it's just a box, but it's great gym space because I already thought about this. I designed it this way in particular. So like, for example, we're doing a project in Needham where we're designing the outside. So I asked my landscape architect to do the pergola, the dining area, the outdoor kitchen, and the pool. And we're not executing any of it. All we're delivering is the patio as part of the spec, but I wanted him to design it so I can mute it. And if people ask, and they say, I don't know, I'm not envisioning what is it that I can do, I can show them the entire program that can be executed there, because we're in product role.
Nice. So let's talk about your subcontractors. So are you get how many subs are you working with for each different all the different tasks? And are you using the same guys on every project? Are you continuing to get 3 quotes, or at this point is it now you've worked with the same 2 guys and you know what their numbers are going to be? And how do you deal with fluctuation? I know one thing we're starting to see is I'm getting some proposals in from some subs, and we're seeing some higher numbers than pre-COVID. And my concern, and I'm going to answer back to them, is guys, you're not going to make up for COVID on my next project. You know,
Right.
we've had a long-term relationship. Don't go increasing my prices because you didn't have revenue coming in for 3 months. You're not going to make it up on me. We'll continue forward at the same price. So
Right.
are you seeing that? Are you working with the same guys? You know, how is that structure set up?
So, okay. So, irregardless of COVID, I've adopted this Jack Welch kind of lesson, you know, General Electric, where he used to, every so often, the bottom 10% of performers were let go. So, what I do is, at the end of the year, we sit down as our internal team and we actually rank all of our trades, and the bottom 10% gets replaced. You know, we actually grade them. I literally have a spreadsheet where I rate them on different things, including things like not leaving Denimals, but little bottles in the middle of the frame, or like outside on the door step, something like that. So cleanliness, bunch of things that we rate them on. And if they score low, you know, we give them an opportunity to change for next project. If there's no change throughout this year, we replace them. And, you know, no hard feelings, because we warned them, and we actually, because of those numbers, we zoomed in specifically and we showed them the things that we want them to improve.
Yeah.
So that's that. So that's been good. Having said that, we don't have a huge turnover now. I used to have more of a turnover once I understood that I really need to get rid of certain subs and get better contractors, but not anymore. Now it's like very, very rarely, but it does happen.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about pricing, I definitely see also the same thing that you're talking about. Prices have gone up. I just feel like sometimes maybe are not adapting to the new reality, because my price on the way out is down, right? Exactly. So if you guys are with me for this ride, then you need to, you know, we need to be proportionally working. And if
Right.
they are working with me proportionally, it's a guaranteed job for them.
Right.
And like that house that you saw at Nevada, I'm building that house 2 more times.
Right.
And I contact my trade and I said, look, guy, don't change the price on me. If you just copy the same price as you did last year, and even if you say, you know what, bump it up, please, Gene, I missed the nails, bump it up by 1,000. I'm just gonna, no negotiation, that's fine, right? But if I see it go up, like I've seen one of the quotes go up $5,000, it's the same house.
Yeah, we're seeing the exact same thing, and I think it comes down to that, you know, I'm going to put it at, I haven't even talked to these guys yet, and I hope when I have the conversation, I say, guys, this is not your chance to make a one-time payday off of me to get yourself out of a hole. We're going to build out of this together, and so don't go trying to make up on one project or 2 projects. And I think that they're going to understand, and I think that the ones I have good relationships with will understand that they're going to correct their quote back to the same I was paying pre-COVID.
Absolutely.
Or we'll find somebody else, because there'll be plenty out there. You know, so how many projects are you guys currently running, and how do you see the next 5 years or 10 years of your business? Is it, you know, what does 2019, 2020 look like? And what's your goal as a company for 5 years and 10 years?
So 2019. So a couple of years ago, I already started seeing the bubble thing forming, right, in the spec area, purely because of not even so much the build side, but more on the acquisition side, because everyone who has a tear down to sell is very knowledgeable now, right? And they demand prices that are just quite high. So numbers, you slowly see that numbers are not making as much of a sense. So you need to adjust your model, right? In my area, I don't know, maybe there are better ways to adjust the model, but the way I adjusted the model, and I thought about this back in the beginning of 2018, is that we really need to start taking on custom projects, right? Because if my profit margin is dropping on a spec side, then I need to create guaranteed source of income on a custom side. Put that together with what Instagram is doing in terms of the brand building, where people start recognizing your name and they want you to build a house for them. And all of a sudden that custom channel was very natural, right? So right now we're running at about, I would say 70% or 60% spec, 30 to 40 custom projects, right? So that's my hedge against the whole spec side growing a bubble. And then, we try to do 5 to 7 projects at the same time. I think you asked me that question as well. Again, could have scaled, right? But I'm also always thinking about that, you want to be that small giant where you're doing things right. There is a formula, numbers make sense, and everything is going well, and the company is growing, right? And everything is going well. And I'm not afraid, but I just want to make sure I take a calculated risk if I decide to scale. The goal for 5 to 7 years, I really want to get into condo buildings or apartment buildings. And I think I mentioned to you before, would love to do, something that's 12 unit, 16, 20, something up to 30 units. So that's a long-term goal, but it's not so long, it's 5 years. So I need to start working on that. And we're taking steps in that direction, but it takes time, as you know.
So talk to me about the contracts on these custom homes. Are you concerned with any of those relationships going through COVID, and how are those terms structured to protect are they the owner, or are they under agreement and you're building it for them? So did they acquire the land and then they're dispersing you construction funds, or is it your project that they're already under agreement on?
I have both kinds.
Okay. So are you concerned with either side of that, where with someone being laid off, or where they're already under contract? And how do you protect yourself on that? What type of P&S? Are there things in there with large deposits? Or if it's something that they have the loan, and are you concerned with them continuing to pay you throughout the project over the next 6 to 12 months?
Okay. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm not going to answer certain parts of the question because they're private. I'm just gonna say that usually the way we do custom homes, or a home that goes from semi-custom to a custom, where we have a client, what we'll do is the changes that people ask us to make, we ask for a full payment upfront for those changes.
Yeah.
So obviously that covers the cost. We've never actually had a problem where a person walked away, or someone implemented a feature, walked away, and then I was like, oh my God, the house is not going to sell because of this feature. I think we'll work with great clients. They have amazing taste, and I feel confident that even if there are certain things that are outside of my control. So if something happens, it is what it is. I think we're prepared.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. We actually started out not by doing it that way when we customize units, and now we make everybody pay upfront for the item. So if they want an upgraded kitchen, they're paying for the upgraded cabinets at that exact moment. Mail me a check, and then I'll order your custom cabinets instead of the stock cabinets. Or you want a wine fridge, simple. It's just one at a time. You want a wine fridge, it's $700. Mail me a check.
Exactly.
And then I look at that from a worst case scenario. If they were to walk away, I've got the upgrades paid for by them. Hopefully I could sell the place for more than I was planning on because of these upgrades. It actually could work out.
Exactly.
I think we deal with the same thing. It's like, you try to guide these people to the decisions that are best for them, because sometimes they don't know, and they might ask for something and you say, you know what, let me show you why that's not the right decision.
Yeah.
And typically, at least in my my 6 or 7 years of doing this, you're able to shift the buyer's decision to something that's actually what in our opinions is the right decision,
Right.
and that they don't do something that ruins a unit or ruins a home.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that to your point, I think that sometimes I'm trying to walk this fine line because the client will come up with an idea that is so custom, and I say, and I always say, look, I feel like it's my obligation, it's my duty to tell you that I am also worried about how you're going to be selling this place 10 years from now. Please take this into consideration.
Right.
And good things happen. Yeah, they definitely listen.
Nice. So no, this has been awesome. Anyone who's watching have any more questions? Let's see. We had a couple come in here. So IO LOLOL asked, does rehabbing not make sense in Needham or Newton area? Is the profit margin just better on ground ups?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know because as much as I know about the spec and custom home in Needham, I know nothing about rehab. I've never even tried to calculate, so I'm not going to try to give you an answer that I don't have. I don't know.
I think it's too, one thing you start to get into those neighborhoods, and this is the same thing in Boston, when you start to see these beautiful brand new buildings, ground up construction house, you're trying to make an old one feel as new and beautiful as a ground up, you're fighting an uphill battle from day one when you're trying to sell that. It's got the old foundation. The buyers are going to wonder, why is this old foundation here? Well, it's an old house. And those questions start to come up so quickly that I've just gotten out of the business of trying to sell renovations. Like,
you know what, let's say that first house that we talked about in the beginning of our conversation that my wife and I bought, ranch in Needham, right? When we started building, this architect said, look guys, you're taking the old ranch down, but you have good foundation. Keep the foundation, just underpin it where the garage is, and build 2 stories and an attic on top. And this is gonna save, this is 2004, right? So he says, this is gonna save you $40,000. And I thought, $40,000, that's an amazing saving on a budget of $320 that we had at that point. $40,000, wow, ton of money, right? Well, I'm just gonna make a quick point on this. It was the worst mistake I've ever made, okay? Because I saved that foundation, and again, I'm not a remodeling expert or flipper, but I saved that foundation. It limited the layout of my house because we just basically built up on an old ranch. So my house was wide, it was not deep enough. I did not get the basement that I wanted. I didn't have the height. The foundation was still old windows, new windows, but still small, right? And there were all these things that I was tied to because I never removed that foundation. Cherry on top, when we went to sell it, because of all these limitations, we probably lost $150,000 to $200,000 in potential sale. Because guess what? My house was not considered new construction. It was considered ground up remodel.
Yeah.
So that $40,000 was not a saving.
All right, we got a few more questions that came in here. This is from Real Estate Addicts. Great podcast. Anybody who wants to kill some time, make sure you guys check out the Real Estate Addicts podcast. They said, what does a teardown lot run? So what does a teardown lot cost you out in Needham?
So I think there is nothing it's in 600s right now. So, and there is nothing in low 7s either. I think it's probably 750 up.
750 up, yeah. You answered this one before, but they're asking again, what percentage of your business is GCing versus development? You said it's 60-40 your own and then 40% for other people?
Yes.
What price per foot from to build? You said it's around $150 a foot to $170 a foot.
Yeah, I know some people may say it's insane how the whole 150 happens. I just want to put a little asterisk. That's when we do I would say more streamlined projects like townhouses, right? You don't have to go as elaborate.
Yeah. Vinny, my boy Vinny, what's up, Vinny? He asks, in times like this, are you still buying it to build? So are you still looking right now if an opportunity comes across your plate?
Honestly, I'm buying. Yes.
Um,
I think that you know, all the previous downturn. What's happening right now is unfortunate, right? But to be honest with you, this is the first time in my life where it's serendipity. I have the knowledge, I have the resources, and you know, I have the process in place, and I believe that, you know, things will work out. So this is my time to strike, right? And whoever else is prepared and in good position, this is the time to strike, because 10 years, 15 years ago, one of the elements that I mentioned was missing.
yeah. So Sun Property Group, you know, definitely a good follow for anyone who wants to see really beautiful buildings in Boston. Anthony's right here. He says, I'm seeing more developers in need. I'm putting knockdowns under agreement and then getting end users to buy the house, taking a developer fee, a developer becoming the GC and taking a fee. Is this something that you've done, and is this something you're planning on doing?
I have not done it that way yet, but I have done it. Okay, I had a deal where a person bought the lot. We went into PNS purely on architectural plans. That happened. And so I would consider it more of a custom home, right? So the risk on them, they are buying something that doesn't even exist. The risk on me is the carrying cost. I was not concerned about the money factor because they did put, say, $150,000 non-refundable deposit, so I would have been fine anyway, right? So that happened. And obviously the situation where people come and take the house that's already been framed and they turn it into custom, that happened too. But what you're describing is a third scenario where a builder owns a lot and they just flip it, make a little bit of money on the lot. There's a little bit of pork there, and then they make money as a GC. Totally valid formula. I think we're going to see more of that in the future.
Nice. We got BHDB Ben asking, do you guys still have a low inventory up there in Massachusetts?
Yes, the inventory is very low,
Yeah.
but it's in my area. Obviously, it's very, very low, right? It's if I find, you know, 5 to 7 projects to do per year, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think depending on how long this goes and how, you know, some smaller general contractors or smaller developers might not survive this. I mean, there might be, you might see more opportunities where, you know, the people with more established businesses get through this, and there's other people that just go back to 9 to 5s because they, you know, this takes them out. So there might actually be more opportunities for the established developers out there.
Yeah.
We got we got a question. How many employees do you have under payroll?
So I had besides myself 3 other people. Now we're down to 2. So it's 3 people that are running the company on a full-time basis, and I have my right hand irreplaceable Rick, who is he seems like a full-time, but he is not. He's an independent contractor.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to depend on me.
And we got a question. How much advice do you take from clients if it's not a custom? So I guess how much feedback will you take from a client but not go full custom, I guess is the question.
I think, you know what, we're really accommodating.
Yeah.
If what you mean by this question, if we're working with client on a design and helping them out, I think we go out of our way. Debbie, who's my office manager, she just spent hours and hours putting together our client's cart for plumbing, 40 pages of plumbing selections for our client. And every few hours there was a tweak this, tweak that. So we will do that because I feel like it's the right thing to do. People are buying probably the most expensive thing they will ever buy in their life. I think that I have to give them a service they deserve.
We got a question. Are you guys going to do a duet and work together and build a beautiful house together? I probably will not be involved, but I might have him build me a house, and I'll let him do his thing, and I'll buy it. But
Thank you.
no, I'd let him handle the process out there, and I'll concentrate on what I know, and I'd let him concentrate on what he knows. Um, so nice. This has been awesome. That's all the questions. But thanks for joining us today, everybody. We'll save this down. We'll put it up on our YouTube channel, and then we'll post the link for anyone who missed the beginning. We'll have it up probably later today or tomorrow for people to be able to check in. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on, for inviting me. Guys, everyone who tuned in, thank you so much. I recognize some of your names. You follow me. And thank you very much. This means a lot. I really appreciate it. Yeah, if there's anything I can do, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ping me directly as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Gene. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too. Bye. Bye.